Since 2007, 17,000 New Mexico kids have been impacted by poverty and foreclosure as the unemployment rate for parents has tripled. And as parents struggle to cope in an ailing economy, children are left scared and confused. Joining us with suggestions to help our most vulnerable citizens through the global recession is social worker, our good friend of the show, Barbara Czinger. Great to have you back. Good morning, Barbara.
Hello, how are you?
You're always helping us with all the different relationships we face in our life, and certainly family relationships. We want to get our kids on the right track. And I first want to mention, actually, before we even get to that, remember when we went to break, you saw that music? Wasn't that great?
Oh my God, that was
great.
Awesome?
That was actually Lorenzo Antonio, who we just heard. Now, his four sisters of the Latin music sensation Sparks established a scholarship foundation about 10 years ago to help New Mexico high schools students, and that's really cool because what they did was they helped them to go to college, and it's a perfect example of our community coming together to create a better future for New Mexico citizens and for children, and we need that. It is so critical. Since that 2011 kids data, okay, listen to this kids count data. For those who don't know, you obviously know, but this ranks states based on child well-being. It has ranked New Mexico 46th in the nation. 46th. Not good. Okay, so where are we lacking? Why is this?
Oh, Nikki, that's like an hour conversation. I mean, we really don't have time for all of that. But I think it's really important for us to kind of focus on the children and how they are feeling, instead of looking at, kind of the big, government study in the big picture like that. So I think it's a little more important to look at the child's perspective.
Just kind of break it down. Okay, so let's talk about that. Do kids really understand how bad it is?
You know what, that really depends, because kids sometimes, if your parents are yelling and screaming and fighting and arguing all the time, and they're talking about it in the kitchen, for example, the kids hear all of that. Yeah, very typical. The kids hear all of that. But if the kids' parents are able to kind of talk about it in the bedroom, privately, quietly, then the kids probably don't really know how bad things are. And they might not understand how bad things really are because the parents have taken the time to shelter them from that.
So now, in one sense, the way you're saying it, it sounds to me like it's probably a good idea to shelter them to some level as far as the argumentative way that you could discuss it.
Yes.
But as far as maybe discussing it in a way that can teach them and help them understand, I mean, would you recommend that parents give the children a talk? Because I think that kids, if they are hearing this, they might have some emotions of their own that they get scared.
Yes, I would recommend that parents talk to their children on their children's level.
Okay.
You and I aren't going to have the same conversation as you would have with your 4-year-old.
Right, exactly.
And so I think we have to be aware of how old our kids are and how much we think that our children can handle, because sometimes that's really, really, really hard.
Definitely. Well, they're going to be going through different emotions and different feelings if they think that they're in a situation where they won't be able to afford the things that other kids do. So what can parents do to say, hey, listen, we don't want you to worry. We want to be able to relax your fears?
Well, I think there's a few things that parents could do. First of all, parents have to monitor themselves at home. How are you acting? How are you responding? What do you look like to your kids? Second of all, I think parents have to talk to their kids, again, on their level about what's going on. Third of all, parents have to remind their children that they are the parents and that their kids are the kids. The parents' responsibility is to deal with the economy. The kid's responsibility is to go to school and be a kid. And finally, I think parents have to remember, just, breathe, relax. You are not the only one in this situation. And
that's a great point.
And although it sounds kind of simple, things really, really will get better. It's just going to take a while.
We just have to stay positive. And the thing is that families that aren't on economically stable ground, what happens is they have fewer options.
Yes.
And so I think that what happens is sometimes they kind of say, well, let's just kind of brush this aside. I don't want my kids to feel like they have to compare themselves to other kids.
Yes.
And so how do you cope with that? Because kids are going to do that. They're going to go to school and they're going to see their friends maybe who have things that they don't have, and then they're going to come home and say, why did this one get that and I can't have that?
Yes.
And how do they deal with that?
I think that's also, too, about, how you approach your kids with what's happening in the situation. Hey, we're not going to be able to buy you everything that we've bought you in the past.
Right.
And unfortunately, this year is not going to be as good as last year.
Exactly.
Or as the year before. And I think that that's really important to kind of let your kids know that it is what it is. We're sorry. But, you know, we kind of can't help that.
Okay. Well, specifically, you know, kids are going back to school right now, and back to school expenses are not cheap. Everything from the clothes to the supplies. So when the kids are shopping and they have to get all the cool back to school supplies, you know, those sometimes are the more unaffordable things. So as a parent, if you were to give somebody kind of a typical conversation, what would you say to them?
Well, I think you start to talk to your kids about, you know what, here's what's going on.
Okay.
We can go to one of the other stores,
right.
You know, and we can get you some inexpensive folders, or we can get you some inexpensive notebook paper, or we can get you some inexpensive pens, and maybe we'll have a little bit of extra money to buy those cute shoes that you wanted.
Exactly.
Or to buy that shirt that everybody has this year.
Exactly.
So there's a few ways that you can cut corners that will help you to, you know, give them a little bit of what they want.
Right.
But not everything, because you can't.
Exactly, and that's the thing. They have to understand they can't have everything that they want, and I think that disadvantaged children often face greater challenges.
Yes.
And so they want to become successful adults. They want to have everything that other kids have, and they want to be a success, and that often means going to college. And so I want to ask you, what kind of risks are the children at if, you know, if they don't have the things to look forward to they want? If we don't intervene, then we can't really help them. So it's kind of a balancing act, right? Because you're saying in one sense, shelter them in a way because you're still the parent and they're still the kid, and then on the other hand you have to tell them what's going on so they know how to better prepare for their futures.
Yes, but you also have to be aware that they are kids, and you don't want to give them something that is so out there that they can't come back from that. You know,
Right.
You don't want to be like, oh gosh, you know, things are so horrible.
Right, of course,
you know, because
not.
you don't want them to hear that. You know, reality can be diplomatic.
That's a good word. I like that.
You know, and we don't have to kind of say how horrible it is.
Exactly.
You know, we can
exactly.
talk to our kids about, you know what, hey, you just go to school, you get the best grades you can, you know, and mom and dad will deal with this the best that they can.
Right.
You know, and there are options available. Of course, New Mexico has the lottery scholarship for college.
That's right.
You know, and there are other things for kids to do. There's all sorts of scholarships, funding, all that other kind of stuff, you know, for the older children to kind of look forward to. But we can't just tell them how horrible things are.
Well, maybe give them some incentive in the process. Like you're saying, there's scholarships,
Yeah.
there's lotteries. Be able to say, hey, listen, you know, times are tough right now, but we have options. There's ways that you can have everything you want.
Yes.
And that will motivate them to probably be better students and participate in more activities. So in a way, you can give them that
Yeah.
incentive by being honest with them in a nice, calm, and non-scary, not scary way.
Right.
We don't want to scare them.
We don't want to terrify the kids.
Exactly. Great advice. Well, let's tell all our viewers how they can contact you, because you can deal with every kind of relationship in their lives, and so many different topics that you can cover to help people at Santa Fe Zen. Barbara Czinger, of course, can be located at 505-216-6770 Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 6. And Barbara is located in the Santa Fe area, and you can also go to the website for more details. Thanks, Barbara.
Sure.
Helpful information. We want to get our kids on track. We want to be honest with them, but we don't want to scare them. That's really what I take from this.
Yes,
That's
I
the
think
bottom
so.
line.
Very much, yes.
Thank you. And of course, we'll have you back again soon to talk about some more. Everybody has a story, and the Albuquerque Convention and Visitors Bureau wants to hear yours. That's next.